What does one say to an ancient Nephilim ghost?
I suppose you start with...
What do they look like, Jimmy?
Dorks. They look like a couple of dorks.
Hello, my friend. Stay a while and listen.
What's going on YouTube? It's Filthy, and we're back with another Diablo 3 Season 34 video. Today's video is going to be how to get more Angelic Crucibles, how to get more Sanctified Items, and coincidentally how to find more Primals, Echoing Nightmare Keys, and Augment Gems. We're going to talk about the Sanctified Items, what we can do with them, why we want to get more of them, and how they can feed into just general character progression across the course of the season. As always, guys, a thumbs up does brighten my day. Now, there's probably not a terrible amount that is new for me to say on this topic. It's a topic I do cover pretty much most seasons, but I do know from looking at the comments on the videos, some people are struggling to find the Angelic Crucibles. Some people are returning to the game after a long break, and for some people, maybe they've just picked up the game on Switch or something like that, and they're not entirely sure how some of the mechanics about farming the game and how to power up your character for resources work. So this is going to be a kind of all-encompassing guide talking about basically all of the different resources, how to get them, and how to get quite stacked with them. So let's start off with the basics. Angelic Crucibles are the season theme. These are just a drop in the game like anything else. They can drop absolutely anywhere. So to get more of them to drop, we just need to do content faster. So speed is the name of the game. Now, we can do bounties, torment, rifts, but generally the best way to get items is to run greater rifts. And up until GR 90 is where the item cap starts to happen. So if you're running an 80, you'll get more items than if you're running a 75. You'll get more items if you run an 85, and this kind of starts to really stop at 90. At 90, you will get no more drops in 91, no more drops all the way up to 100. What you will do when you get up to 100 is you'll get one extra drop of being a legendary. So 90 is like the minimum base item kind of cap, and then 100 is the top. So if we're just talking about how to do things as fast as possible to get as many Angelic Crucibles, as many Echoing Nightmare Keys, Petrified Screams, whatever, then you want to be kind of pitching in this 90 to 100 range. Now, this is not good for Paragon farming because I'm going to recommend that we use one of the two builds that we've set up on the channel so far, which is either this Fist of Heaven's Crusader, which can wipe the screen pretty quick, or Multi-Shot, which can also wipe the screen very, very fast. And you'll be able to clear these hundreds in like a minute. You should be doing this in like about 60 seconds on a decent map, 40 seconds on an excellent map. That's kind of like where I'm aiming now. Those two builds are not the only builds that are capable of doing that. The Impale Demon Hunter with the Lightning Rune and Ricochet can be quite nice to do it. I think it's going to be a lot slower than Multi-Shot because the AoE coverage is, whilst it's good on that build, is not the same. Mundanuga and Witch Doctor can be quite fast. Wizard has got the Meteor build or Magic Missile. Monk has got Legacy Dreams, Wave of Light. Barb probably struggles to do this particularly quickly, but Lord Hota is probably going to be your best bet for that, I would have thought. Monk, I think we've mentioned. Let's see what other classes. Necro is going to suck at it this season. I don't like the Necro builds, but you get the idea. You just want to look at a build that can do 90 to 100 extremely fast. Now, you of course require greater rift keys to do this, so you will have to do some Nephilim rifts. Nephilim rifts are the best way to get the keys to open the greater rift, but they are not the only way. So if you're smashing 60-second rifts out, you're going to get plenty of these drops, and then you're going to be able to make plenty of Sanctified Items. Now, why do you want to do this? Well, there's 1 in 3 chance every time you make a Sanctified Item that you're going to get the power that you want. Depending on how many builds you play, you're going to need quite a few to get the right power across all of the builds. Secondly, importantly, you're going to want the right stats. So it's taken me quite a while to find a Flail of the Charge, which has got damage percent, cooldown reduction, and I've got strength on here. So I can roll on attack speed and test that. I can roll on area damage and test that for speeds. Top clears on the boards have got these 3 exact stats. It's taken me quite a few. I've got a couple of dud ones here that have rolled with the wrong power. So depending on how many builds you max out, it will depend on how many of these Angelic Crucibles you need. Now, I've got 78. I've made a bunch of stuff that has not worked out. Incidentally, I tried passing the follower some Sanctified stuff. That doesn't work. They can't use it. And another big use for the Angelic Crucibles is going to be to make Sanctified puzzle rings, which will be treated like an ancient puzzle ring. So all we do is click on, and then we can slap this into the cube, and it's like having almost infinite puzzle rings that are ancient. So I'm collecting up like batches of 15 or 20, and I'm going to kind of go pop through them all at once. And the reason I want to do that is because I want to play multiple builds and get all these augments on them. So all this gear, as you can see here, has got Caldison's Despair rank 125 on it. That's because we've done plenty of Petrified Scream, Echoing Nightmare keys, completed Wave 125 and got Whisper of Atonement, and therefore we just need gems to slap onto our gear. So got a nice healthy collection of gems. This, of course, is quite a straightforward mechanic. We just need the Broken Crown on the follower. So provided you're playing solo, Broken Crown on your follower will mean you get double gem drops. All you need to do is run some ancient puzzle rings and you'll get a ton of gems. Another method of getting gems that I really like is basically doing the Echoing Nightmare and carrying on past Wave 125 to try and get the goblins to spawn. Now, very, very rarely they won't spawn till like Wave 150, which is obviously hard to do solo at times. But I tend to pop the Conduit Pylon at like Wave 127. That gives me a pretty high chance, I think probably about 19 out of 20 runs, I'm going to get the Goblin Pylon. I'm going to be able to click it. And provided I've got a Broken Crown, then I'm going to be able to get the gems. Now, the way to really maximize your Petrified Scream keys, of course, is to share them on a rota. So you want to go into the public chat, either in your clan or on the Great Rift Finder, and just type in +3 for Echoing Nightmare rotation, link a couple of keys, and you will find players who want to do this. This is also excellent for materials because the goblins inside, if you do get the palm, will drop lots of reusable parts, arcane dust, veiled crystals, and Forgotten Souls. Somebody did tell me it is the fastest way per hour to get Forgotten Souls is to actually run the Echoing Nightmares up to the Goblin Shrine. So it is really, really useful for resources. Then once you've got your build augmented out, you're going to be so much stronger, and then you'll be able to farm your Paragon by running the fastest rift that you can, or the highest rift that you can, in about the kind of 3-minute mark. That's roughly where most people seem to think the XP sweet spot is. I personally like doing things a little bit faster.
That's what she said.
Because I like just more drops. That gives me more chance for primals. I can then salvage them. I can get more of the primordial ashes, which again are very useful because it means this season we can have a crafted sanctified item, which is like a primal item. We can then craft ourselves the primal with the last recipe in the cube. Costs 100 primordial ash, and that's 2 items that we can box off to be perfect. So we're looking to pick things that are difficult to roll or important to our build. So weapons do a lot of damage, so we're always trying to pick a weapon first. If I happen to find a really nice ancient flail of the charge with the stats that I like and a good damage roll, I would probably then make a convention of elements or a shield of the steed and look to box off something that is a bit more difficult in the build. There's no point sanctifying something like a chest plate because that is quite easy to get to drop well. Same for the belts. There's no range on this. Anything with a percentage range, like the convention of elements, obviously it would be nice to get 200%, is a good candidate for a crafted primal or for a sanctified item. Again, squirts, eventually you're going to move off this kind of crafted one because if you play enough, you will just find one with double crit, a socket, and you can roll on the element that you want. But again, early on, one like this crafted is absolutely fine. Now, a question that always comes up across the course of the season is, how about Visions of Enmity? Now, they're obviously terrible for Paragon because they are essentially a Torment 16 activity, so you will get to the point where they stop adding any Paragon or experience at all. What they do offer, though, is the bounty mats, so that we don't have to do the bounty runs to get these unless we so wish to. Now, the issue with Echoing Nightmares is it's quite good for Forgotten Souls, and I tend to just simply whiz through and pick up only single slot legendaries like rings, amulets, belts, that sort of thing. I'll probably pick up set items if I'm fairly new to the class that I'm playing because I'm still looking for really good set pieces that I can augment up. But you can whiz through it. My goal is to get through one and not come back to town because that seems to be a little bit efficient. But if you wish to pick everything up inside, absolutely you can do. Before you do any Echoing Nightmare farming, you really want to get the altar node that the pet picks up and salvages white, blue and yellow items, because otherwise there's just going to be a lot of stuff for you to pick up. That also applies for doing the ancient puzzle rings. Far faster and more fun to do them once you've unlocked the pet auto salvaging stuff for you. How to spawn Echoing Nightmares? Well, I think you've got a couple of strategies here. You cannot spawn them in a Greater Rift, of course, or a Nephilim Rift. But what you can do if you're playing something like Crusader, something like the Cow Stick is in the loot pool. You can put it into the cube. You don't need a recipe, you just hit transmute and it will open up the cow portal. In here, this is a zone that's got loads of shrines, tons of enemies, so very, very easy to spawn yourself a vision of enmity in there. Other options are you can run areas like the Temple of the Firstborn like we do for leveling, very dense area, lots of mobs. The passage to Corvus is also really good because again, lots of mob density. What I've hit on actually though, as my preferred strategy since these have been entered into the game, is to just simply do a set of bounties, simply because I think it's worthwhile collecting up the bounty materials. Again, because I like playing lots of classes, I don't necessarily have the time to put 20 hours into each of them to gear them up. So I'm going to be relying heavily on the Law of Cool, second recipe in the cube, which requires bounty materials and Forgotten Souls to reforge items. So I kind of think I may as well collect up some bounty mats whilst I'm doing it. Now, that's debatable as to whether it's worth it, simply because you're going to get so many bounty mats from doing the visions anyway. But I tend not to do much vision farming during the season. I will do whatever it is that I need to spend my Forgotten Souls. So whatever my Forgotten Souls are, I'm going to divide that by 10, and that is roughly the bounty materials that I should have. Because if we see here, we've got a 10-to-1 ratio, Forgotten Souls to bounty material. So I know I don't need to do Act 1. I spent a lot of time helping people trying to find a Ring of Royal Grandeur on the start of the season. So I'm absolutely stacked for Act 1, so I don't need to go there. So I might do my lowest one, which is like Act 2. So my next session of vision farming, let's say I make a wizard, I get it to Torment 16, I'm going to look for wizard set pieces. I'm just going to jump into the vision and I'm going to start doing Act 2. Or I'm going to jump into bounty, do Act 2, look to spawn visions. Once I've got my Chaldean Nightshade higher, then my next lowest would be the West March Holy Water. I'd move on to Act 5 and I'd do a round of bounties looking to spawn the visions. And I would do it that way and kind of build these materials up until they're all about the kind of 400-500 mark, because that would then tally up with my Forgotten Souls. And I can then have a bit of a reforge session on something like Wizard where I'm not going to play the class that much. And you will burn these materials very quickly. A reforge, 100 reforges is not that many. Obviously 30 reforges is almost nothing. You could easily reforge an item 30 times and not get something good. One more point on the Sanctified Items. I've kept these obviously for the video, but you also can just simply salvage them. You can completely re-sanctify them. So you can just re-click and this says, that's a Fist of the Heavens one, so I'm going to keep that. This is got Casting Vengeance. So let's see if it changes. So it does. There we go. That's really weird. It's sanctified on the Crusader power, which is Fist of the Heavens. That's mad. I did not know we could do that. So we can simply just change the power depending on the class. Anyway, the point is you can re-go over the Sanctified. Now I would try and find spare copies of everything, which is why I've got a couple of Holy Point shots that haven't panned out. Obviously I was testing that for the Follower. I've got a couple of in-games that haven't panned out, again for Demon Hunter. But what we can do is we can simply salvage this stuff, and we've got 15 Forgotten Souls, which is great, 44 DBs, which we don't care about because we're always stacked with those because of the way the Altar of Rights works now. 15 Forgotten Souls, 36 DBs, 40 DBs, 107 Blood Shards, 42 DBs. So it's not an amazing use, but if you do end up where you've got like hundreds of these things to spare, you can kind of convert them into Forgotten Souls like that. I would probably be making sure that I had a nice juicy stack of puzzle rings, but again, that's depending if you want to get the gold and the diamonds. Now, again, puzzle rings will give a lot of gold. That's handy for empowering rifts. That's again also going to help me augment out as many builds as possible across the course of a season. So if you do wish to stick out this game for like 2 months or whatever, then again, the more rifts you can empower, the faster you can get the extra augments yourself, in addition to these Whisper Atonement gems. But ultimately, your Practified Screams are going to be your best way to augment. Augmenting, roughly speaking, initially early on will add about twice as much damage, and it will add a lot of toughness to you as well. So it is really, really worthwhile going for it early. But that is kind of basically it. So I think we've covered the mechanics. You could sum it up as just play the game super, super fast, I guess, in a way. But I do like finding primals. Double primals always feels amazing. It's nice to get those drops. It's nice to get a lot of petrified screams, because then I can get all the materials that I need. And this makes setting up all the classes for me really easy, because I can just craft things, upgrade them in the cube, and try and set out my builds that way. So that is kind of how to play the game a bit more efficiently, how to find as many sanctified items with Angelic Crucibles as possible, get as many Primals, and get the Echoing Nightmare keys. It's very possible I've forgotten something. I haven't scripted this video, so if anybody does have any other efficiency tips or anything else that might be relevant for any kind of resources that somebody might be struggling with, obviously I haven't covered Ubers because nobody really uses Hellfire amulets, but that aside, if anybody does have any other tips, please do stick them in the comments. If we can help anybody who is new to this game, then that, I think, is definitely going to be a good thing. Right, enjoy the rest of your day. I've been the Filthy Casual. Take it easy, guys. Peace.